Ahoy ahoy to all you smooth sailors out there, and welcome aboard the Deck Tales podcast. I'm your host and captain, Sammy Catlin, and this is the show where we set sail into the captivating world of ship life. Most of the time, delving into the best and worst experiences of the incredible crew members who called the open sea their workplace, but I'm open to the odd exception as well. Whether we're navigating stunning destinations to weathering unexpected storms, our guests all have stories to tell that will make you laugh, gasp, and maybe even shed an unexpected tear. So if you're a seasoned cruiser eagerly awaiting your next embarkation, or just curious as to what goes on at sea, Deck Tales is your boarding pass to a world of nautical narratives. My guest today has a few different names, one of them being Manuel Martinez, but his main stage name is Loki. I caught up with him literally between ships, as he sat in his Grenada hotel having just left one and was waiting for the other to arrive. Loki has been a professional performer for longer than he cared to originally divulge, but over the course of his expansive career as a magician and comedian, he has seen and been through quite a lot. We talked all things magic, cultural stereotypes, and a brief history of time. Kind of. So let's anchor up and dive right in. Hello, Loki!
You froze then.
Let's try it again because we are recording.
Are we? Oh, okay. Great start. Well, these can be the outtakes.
It's all good. I can clip it together to make it seem seamless every single time. That's the beauty of editing. So I always come off, and the guests always come off really polished. No ums, no ers, no pauses, nothing.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But how are you, sir? How are you?
I'm fine. I'm just chilling out at the moment in the Caribbean, which is where I'm talking to you from now. So
it's a hard life, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I'm between ships. So they dropped me off on the island of Grenada. I'm staying here for 2 nights in a hotel, and then I join another ship tomorrow morning.
Oh, nice. How's the hotel?
Yeah, lovely.
Have you
Palm
been?
trees, the sea, the beach, the bars, the restaurants. Yeah, all good.
So which ship have you just come from? Which ship are you heading to?
I just come off P&O's newest ship, Arvia. They dropped me off here yesterday, and tomorrow morning I will join Britannia, which is the flagship. The
flagship, meaning their kind of standout baby.
Yeah, it's not the newest in the fleet, but it is still regarded as the flagship. I think it's because it was christened by the Queen, Elizabeth II. Yeah, so that's why. That's what makes it the flagship. Very special. Did
the bottle break when she
christened it? It did. It did. Oh, they made sure it did. Yeah, that would have been. I think it's like bad luck, isn't it? Superstition if the bottle doesn't break.
Yeah, there's a couple ships that have been known to have sunk after the fact that the bottle did not break.
Great. Yeah. No, it broke.
That's good.
Otherwise, someone would have lost their head, I'm sure, or been in the Tower of London.
So I've been looking quickly just before we start through the chain of email threads we've been exchanging over the last, is it a couple months? I can't remember when it was I reached out to you initially.
I think it's even more than that. I think it's about 6 months you've been chasing after me and trying to pin me down. So
that's what this podcast is. If it wasn't for me being resilient and chasing after people, there wouldn't be as many episodes as there is at the moment.
No, you've been very diligent.
But so, at the very first email, I've addressed you as Manuel, and that is your actual name.
Well, yes and no. So I have several names and identities.
Okay.
So
which one am I? I'm talking to Loki right now.
Yeah. So Loki's God of Mischief. Yeah. Before Tom Hiddleston and the Marvel Universe. So. I'm a professional performer. I'm a magician. I've been a magician virtually my entire adult life. I won't say how many years that is, but it's a lot. So my stage name was Loki. That's the first stage name I ever adopted, and that name has stuck with me right through. But I have different performing personas. So I also perform on ships predominantly with a character known as Manuel Martinez, who is a Cuban magician. So I do a show where I have like a mock South American Latino accent and direct from the Tropicana. And my show is a blend of magic and comedy. So a bit reminiscent of Tommy Cooper.
Are you Latino by heritage?
No, not at all. No.
Wait, what?
No.
You put a little bit of wax in your moustache and you curve it upright, and then you basically pass?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this isn't even real. This comes off of the glasses.
So, no, really.
So no. So yeah. So Manuel Martinez is my comedy show, but outside of that, I also run a agency, which is dedicated specifically for magic and magicians.
I was just scrolling through the roster of talent, and there was another Manuel who was a mind reader. Is that another?
Yes, Manuel Duarte. Yes, he's Chilean. And he really is. He really is from Chile.
Oh, that's not you putting on a different.
That's not me.
Moustache.
No. That's a completely different person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What was there was a few that took my attention. There was a guy with like 3 plungers all over his head. The Great Baldini.
Oh, the Great Baldini, yeah. Or Baldinio. Yes, he is.
Is he really bald?
Yeah, he's really bald. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he does a very theatrical sort of vaudeville act. Again, very funny, very comical. So, yeah. There's a whole mix of diverse talent on the site at the moment. I tried to pick magicians that don't necessarily look like magicians, that bring something a little unique and original.
Are there any kinds of magicians that you are vehemently opposed to, like you won't book?
Oh, yeah. Well, I steer away from the very cliched performers, the magicians that are a bit cheesy, pulling silk handkerchiefs out of a bag and maybe making doves appear. It's had its time now. So
it's 2025.
We've moved on. Exactly, we've moved on. So yeah, I do steer away from the cheesy acts.
So where are we at now? Because I don't know if you've ever seen the film with Steve Carell and is it Steve Buscemi as well? The Incredible Burt Wonderstone.
Oh, yeah.
And they are exactly what you've just said, like the very cliched comedic type of, cheesy magician.
Yeah, they're sort of spoofing they were kind of spoofing Siegfried and Roy.
That's right.
Which were the biggest and most, one of the most successful magician duos ever. So I don't think they minded being ribbed a little bit.
No, but then
they made a lot of money.
They most definitely did. But then the guy that was challenging them as like the has-beens was Jim Carrey in the film.
Yes.
And he was doing this dangerous kind of, mystery.
Yeah, he was kind of parodying Chris Angel, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. So they took real performers that were working in Vegas at the time and just kind of spoofed them up. But again, Chris Angel is very well respected, a great magician. I wouldn't say either of those are cheesy. I would be more than happy to sign those up to the agency because they're great acts.
So if Siegfried and Roy was the past and this new Chris Angel is kind of like, well, that was about 10 years old, that film now. Yeah. What's the trending magic going on at the moment, in your opinion?
The trendy magic? Well, I guess everyone's familiar with David Blaine, who continues to push, I guess, magic forward. I mean, his performances are, completely different again, a completely different style of magic. Darren Brown is the other one that you're probably familiar with, certainly the Brits. Dynamo, of course, yeah, known for his street magic and the close-up miracles that he performs. So they're the happening names, I guess. And then there are bigger names in the industry that aren't so well known, but are absolutely, rocking their own shows around the world.
Who would be like the magician's magician?
The magician's magician. I guess the one we all look up to is still going. Yeah, I wouldn't personally pick Penn or Teller. I'd go to probably the daddy, which is David Copperfield.
Yeah. Is he still going?
He's still going. Yeah, it's amazing.
Didn't they do a film about him, or is that being made?
There's not been an official film about him, no, like a biopic or anything. But no, he's still going. He's still working in Vegas, still got his own show. Nice. You can still go and see it. So I kind of grew up with him. So watching his specials in the 80s. So yeah, he always has a special place in my heart.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I loved Copperfield. He's amazing.
I went to Budapest around November time, and I went and visited the Houdini Museum.
Oh, yeah.
And it was quite impressive, the fact that he essentially encouraged the police to try to tie him up, and then he undermined their entire, system of handcuffs and straitjackets and all of that stuff to force them to get better. I mean, who's been pushing the envelope in that regard, or being like a policy changer in recent times? No one.
A policy changer. Oh well, you have to kind of remember that Houdini was a great PR,
Yes.
a great PR man, and the stunts that he performed were for entertainment purposes. So yes, he's regarded as still is the most famous escapologist in history. Everybody knows the name Houdini. And when you think of Houdini, you don't necessarily think of him as a magician. Most of the public will always regard him as someone who escaped from locks and handcuffs and prisons and straitjackets. But escapology is a genre of magic. So he was a great magician. He was a great magician. And to achieve his stunts, he used, shall we say, methods that are found in magic texts. So when you say that, did he change the policies on how you incarcerate criminals? Maybe on the surface, but not officially. Not officially.
And when you say magic texts, do you mean things that you might find at a druid's table, or
not druids? No, we're not druids. Not druids or wizards. That's more mythological.
Do you dabble in the occult? Do you do all of that stuff?
There is a subgenre of magic known as bizarre magic, the bizarrists, and although again a stress, it's for entertainment purposes, but they do shroud their performances in the occult.
Right.
But there is no slitting of roosters' throats or killing virgins on the altar. It's not real, is what I'm saying. We are theatrical magicians. So
well, yeah. I've got in quite heavy on this topic straight in because you're the first magician I've had on DuckTales.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I did have a guy on the other day who's like a mix of things: DJ, magician, kids host, cruise director, fleet manager, and all these other things. And I really didn't touch on magic with him at all because it's not his main thing. It was something that he did when he started on ships, but I think it was more bit parts. But you're legit. You've got the agent.
I'm legit.
You're the agency man. You're the booker, the bookie,
the performer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a full member of the Magic Circle, in fact the Inner Magic Circle in London, which is
there's two sort of parts of the circle.
There are, yeah, technically three. I think it's been a long time. I think they've changed the rules slightly since I joined. But basically, yeah, you've got the Magic Circle, which is the most prestigious magic society in the world, based in London, founded in, testing me now, in 1904, I think, 1910, 1910, I think. I should know, shouldn't I?
Is that the one that's depicted in the film Now You See Me?
That's probably the Magic Castle in Los Angeles.
Something.
So, yeah, well, Now You See Me, I think is a US-based movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's awful, by the way. It's terrible. It's so bad. That's representative of somebody who's made a movie about magicians and magic that clearly knows nothing about magicians or magic.
Yeah, but that's Hollywood, isn't it? Anyone who knows something about a subject, whenever they then watch a film that's based on their subject they're a professional at, they end up hating it because it didn't do it justice in some way. No, exactly. No. So I hated Speed 2 Cruise Control. Because it was like, well, that doesn't work. That wouldn't happen. The water is still in the pool. You're always going to throw shade at stuff when it's not true enough to form.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can see all the inaccuracies. But obviously on the surface, it's how the lay people, as we call them in the industry, that's non-magicians or muggles, if you're in the Harry Potter world, that's how they perceive magic. So I understand that the film is kind of showing you, the viewer, the end result. But of course, the magicians get funny about it because it's like, oh my God, you couldn't do it like that. And that's completely ridiculous. And so
have you ever been like kicked, or not you, obviously you're still in the game, but like people who get kicked out of the Magic Circle? Does that happen?
Yeah, they do expel members.
Wasn't it Morgan Freeman in the Now You See Me film who was like the guy who lifted the curtain and showed you how the tricks worked? And in the real world, there was that guy, the masked magician. I used to find him quite scary. But
Valentino, yeah. So, yeah, well, exposure is the biggest no-no in magic. I mean, that's the golden rule of being a magician. I mean, we take an oath when we join the magic circle. And in the mandate of being a member, number one is do not disclose the secrets. In fact, that's part of the motto of the magic circle, which is in Latin, but basically it translates loosely to not apt to revealing secrets.
Do you know it off by heart?
The motto in Latin, oh, well, now you put me on the spot. Of course, no one actually knows how to pronounce Latin. So
no, it's a dying breed.
Yeah, it's something like non indocilis et. Can't remember the word for secret now. So no, I can't get it all.
That's all right.
I'll probably get chucked out now.
Well, so what are the? We've not even touched on cruise ships at all because we just got into magic.
Loci, that's it. No, not non-loci, something indocilis loci.
Is that why you're Loki?
No, it's not why I'm Loki. No, you think I would have remembered that word off pat? No, it's nothing to do with Loki. But anyway, we don't give away our secrets.
You don't give away your secrets, but you said at the beginning of that there's 3 layers of the circle: the outer, the inner, and the inner, or something like that.
No, there used to be stages that you could go through. So there's like a general member, and when I say a general member, you don't just fill a form in and you're in. You've got to take a test. You've got to do an exam.
You do a day course.
Yeah. No, more than a day. No, it's reserved for professional magicians. So A, you've got to be over the age of 18 anyway to join, and B, you have to be able to perform magic to a professional standard. There is an actual syllabus, of sleights that you have to be able to execute. So providing you're good enough and the judges agree, you're in. And then you become a member of the magic circle, get a certificate, letters after your name, magic wand. It's not real. Yeah.
Oh, does the wand have to choose you?
No, it doesn't do anything. No. It just sends you. And you're in, and then you've got access to the library, the museum, all the facilities that the Magic Circle have at their headquarters. I can't tell you exactly where it is.
No, I know. You keep that to yourself. Don't want to get getting in trouble on my account, mate.
It's by Euston Station.
I know exactly.
You'll never find it.
It's not like platform 3 and 6.
Yeah. That's the way. Yeah, go through the back. There's a secret door at the back of Lost Property.
Knew it.
So then once you're in, you can then progress through different tiers. The top tier is to become a member of the inner magic circle. That's the top one, and that is reserved for those magicians by invitation only. So you can't apply to join. You have to wait till the president decides that you're good enough, and then he invites you to become a gold member of the inner magic circle. Yeah.
Wow. Serious stuff.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, then I can order hits on other magicians, we send them, get them taken out.
I know one trick, and that is literally it. I used to have the Paul Daniels magic set when I was a kid. Got bored with it, couldn't get my hands to work the way that they were supposed to. Kept slipping and dropping stuff, and I was like, you know what? It's probably not for me. This is why I'm a handyman, because my hands are tools, and like a monkey with sticks. I use them in accordance with what needs to go where, and it's pretty straightforward. But I've always loved magic, and I say love. I've always had a love-hate relationship with it, in that I fucking love it, but I hate it because I don't understand, and that's obviously what some people are like. They just see stuff, they don't comprehend it, and they get angry at the person who's just made them go wow. But instead of saying wow, I just go, fuck off. I'm the worst kind of person that you would have at your show in the front row.
Right, okay.
But I would never sit in the front row purposefully, because I know that I would just get picked on. I know the rules. Don't sit in the front if you're going to, get upset with being picked on at any point. Just, go to the back. But you obviously, with having performed for as many years as you have you ever had like the show? Or I'm sure, of course, you've had shows from hell. But is there like a couple that stand out for you?
Shows from hell. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been performing a long time, so yeah, there have been shows that have not necessarily gone according to plan, where I've looked pretty stupid on stage. So yeah, it happens. I mean, it's a live show, right? So anything can happen. So, and magic, magic goes wrong. It's not always the card when you find it. Is that your card? Yeah. No? Oh, right. Okay. So, yeah, it does happen. It has happened through the past. I'm pretty good at wriggling out of when things go wrong because I'm predominantly a comedy magician. I've got that fail safe that I can fall back on the comedy, make a bit of a joke about it, and then people aren't quite sure if it was supposed to have happened or not. But yeah, if I'm backed into a corner and it's really obvious, then yeah, there's often nothing I can do. You just have to fess up to it, which is what I've done in the past. I've stood on stage and say, people ask me sometimes, what happens when magic goes wrong? And said, well, good night.
Because obviously you do it predominantly on the cruise ships, but you do it on land as well. What would you say are the big differences between the two? Or are there any real differences?
Yeah, big differences. Yeah, big differences. The main difference of performing at sea on a ship is that the audience, of course, are a huge demographic. So if you do a comedy club or a theatre in London, people pay to come and see your show, and there will be a certain type of person that will come. Whereas on a ship, you've got everybody from young children up to, elderly grandparents. So
the non-believers.
The non-believers, yeah. And they're from all over the country as well, or all over the world. In fact, on some ships, they have, multiple nationalities. So they're not necessarily all English speaking either. So that brings its own set of challenges. So yeah, ships, I would say, are by far the most challenging environment to perform, to do a show. So it's not the place to start. You've got to have been performing for a long time, got a lot of experience under your belt before you move into working on cruise ships.
And with obviously the elements at sea, you're battling against that sometimes, or do your shows always get cancelled if there's rough weather and stuff?
Rarely. The shows that tend to get cancelled more due to really rough weather are any shows that involve any sort of balance, or they have circus shows on board. Where they're sort of hanging from ropes and stuff, and that it's sort of dangerous for those guys to perform. Whereas myself as a solo performer, I can easily sort of manage the ship moving back and forth.
There'd never be a Cirque du Soleil at sea, would there?
I think there has been a Cirque du Soleil show at sea. Yeah, I think they did. I think they may have worked on Cunard. I'm not sure.
But they would have to take
out those types of show.
Yeah. No, they would have to take out, as you say, the balance heavy portions of the show out.
Yeah.
It's just so unpredictable weather.
I've seen jugglers on stage that are riding around on unicycles, juggling knives in a Force 8. So I've seen it. Again, these are experienced performers. I consider myself a very experienced performer. I know what to do to mitigate any accidents if the ship is moving around a lot. But there are certain types of performers that, it's just impossible.
If you've got a person on stage who's juggling knives on a unicycle in a Force 8, and then there's a waiter who's carrying a tray with flutes of champagne, and he drops that, he's got to feel right stupid. He can do that, but I can't even do this.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially when he's blindfolded as well on the unicycle.
Oh, God.
There's no excuse.
There's no excuse. But is your look? You're always with the thick glasses.
Yeah,
the thick glasses.
This is pretty much what I look like. Yeah, this is what I look like day to day. I wake up like this.
And when you go around doing your Latino act, do you stay in character for the whole cruise, or do you drop it when you're off stage?
Yeah, generally. No, generally stay in character all the time.
Yeah.
So to keep up that pretense.
Well,
they'll never know. They'll never know. They will if they watch this.
Yeah, this is true. Sorry. Have you got any scariest moments over the years?
So scary? No, ships are, they're very safe now, and I can't say for sure that if there's ever been a really, really scary incident on board. Never been on when there's been a fire. Certainly haven't been on when it's sinking.
You've led a charmed life then, in that regard.
I would appear so, yeah. But then I guess the scariest thing was the time they run out French fries. I mean, that was in the buffet. That was up there.
Was that a whole 5 minutes?
Well, as long as it took them to get another bag in, from the freezer into the fryer. So yeah, there was panic then.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. Food is so on the go; it never stops. There's like very little reason to panic on board a ship.
No, you've got more food you can possibly eat 24/7.
I hear people like passengers are going on their like 2-3 day cruises, and after the first day they're claiming I've got cabin fever. It's like, no, you haven't. Do you know what cabin fever means or where the word derives from? It's like, people in the back in the pioneer days, and they would have to gather food and resources and get themselves through winter in a log cabin, and they'd get snowed in, and they'd be there months and months.
Yeah, these are ships you have to row. No, it's come a long way since then.
We've come a long, long way. Whereabouts are you based when you're not cruising around the world?
I live in Canterbury, Kent.
Oh, next door to the Duke, the Archduke. What was his name?
Archbishop.
The Archbishop. Sorry.
Yeah, he's resigned, isn't he? The current one. He stepped down. So I don't know who the new one is. I don't even know if the post has been filled yet. So
well, you're in the magic circle. You're not in You're not in the inner bishop's circle.
No, it's a completely different type of magic. I mean, you could argue we're both cults, but
different interests.
Different interests. Yeah, and different beliefs. Certainly different books.
Different books. Okay, so you've got your sort of your spurs, as they call them, your stripes. Do they say spurs? You've earned your spurs.
That's the things the cowboys wear.
Yeah. You've earned your spurs. Do people still say that?
Stripes.
Is it always just been stripes? Where am I getting spurs and stripes mixed up?
I don't know if that's like a football reference, is it? I don't know.
I hate the Spurs. Let's pretend, or let's just edit that all out and I'll start again.
I'm not into football, but Spurs.
Yeah, it's what the Cowboys have to G up. It's to G up the horses. They have the spurs on the back of their boots.
They do. I don't think I've ever earned those. I've earned stripes. I've heard that expression, earn your stripes.
So as a comedian, magician, you've worked with some big names. You've worked with some, I'm guessing, not so big names. But have you worked with many celebrities?
I have worked for celebrities. So keeping it back to deck tales, people on ships. Most recently, I was on with Tony Hadley from Spandau Ballet.
Spandau, yes.
Yes, so he's a great guy. So he was on board doing a special show, which was cool. Got to see him live.
Has he still got pipes?
Oh, yeah, he can still belt those songs out exactly as he did in the 80s. I mean, it's phenomenal. He's got an amazing voice. And, yeah, it just sounds like the record, even now. Yeah, incredible. Really cool.
Love that. Any celebrities who are not such great guys or girls?
No, I find most of them are really agreeable.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't say anyway.
I know you want the dirt. The gossip. But
that's all right, you were always going to be a challenge because you're cemented in there. I haven't been in the industry for 15 years. So statute limitations has passed.
Oh, you can say what you like. Yeah. I genuinely can't think of anyone that I've met on a ship that's been horrible or nasty to work with. They've been largely absolutely fine. Some I don't get to know as well as others. Some might want to keep to themselves. That's understandable because they're, being hounded for photographs and selfies and but no, Tony was great. I mean, the most famous person I met on a ship, which was completely random, would have been Professor Stephen Hawking.
Oh, really? Wouldn't have thought he'd be a fan of a cruise.
No, but he used ships to travel because he couldn't fly in the later years of his life because of his condition. So he used the ships to get around. And he was a passenger on a ship one time that I was performing on. And I was desperate to meet him. Like, I've never really been starstruck by anyone.
he would have been in the front row, right?
No, he never came to the show to start with. So
well, he's a man of science. He doesn't like magic and make believe nonsense.
no, he does. No, he does. But well, he's an atheist. So yeah, he doesn't like made up things and nonsense.
Yeah. Tough sell.
Yeah, no, he is, he's a cosmologist and probably, arguably he was our sort of modern day Einstein, wasn't he? I mean, the man's a genius.
We've got Brian Cox.
Brian Cox. Yeah, I've also worked with.
You've got with Brian as well. They're not at the same level.
Well, no, not quite. No, Stephen is regarded as probably, was the world's foremost expert on cosmology.
Did you track him down?
I did track him down. I did everything I could. I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to approach him, and I wasn't allowed to ambush him. So I did my best. You know, on the ship, they do like a cruise TV where the cruise director interviews you. So I was asked to go on, and I said, yeah, it's fine. So in the hope that Stephen might be watching, I took a Rubik's Cube on, and while I was being interviewed, I solved a Rubik's Cube live.
Just casual.
Yeah. There's no effort for me. So I'm solving the cube, and the whole time I'm being interviewed, I kept just dropping in that, I believe that I'm probably the smartest man on this ship at the moment. And as I'm solving the cube, I said, in fact, if there's anyone smarter than me on this ship right now, I challenge you to come to my show, which is tonight, 8:30 and 10:30. You can come to either, and we'll see who's the smartest man. So, needless to say, he didn't come. He wasn't there. He probably didn't even see the interview.
He's above reverse psychology.
He is, yeah. He's. I mean, even my show. They have an onboard paper that advertises the show for that night. So you have a little bit of advertising blurb to get people in. Mm-hmm. So in my blurb, I had it rewritten to say, "Come and see Manuel Martinez tonight, where he will describe the inner workings of black holes." Quantum mechanics, string theory. Oh, and there'll be some jokes and magic too. Thinking that he'll see that and think, I'm going to go to that then. He still didn't come. So I'm running out of time now on the cruise. We're getting closer and closer to the port where he was disembarking. And I thought, I haven't met him. It's like, he's the only person I want to meet. I don't care about anyone else. I've got to meet Stephen Hawking. And then I bumped into, by chance, two passengers who were travelling, having a drink, that were watching another show on their own, just started talking to me. And it turns out that they were the chief not carers as such, but sort of the medical team for Stephen, because he had quite a big entourage with him, people to look after his needs.
And they were like, Manuel, we saw you're trying to get him in his attention.
No, but no idea who I was.
You're trying too hard. None of that.
No, they had no idea who I was. They hadn't seen the show. As far as they were concerned, I was just another passenger. So I quickly explained, and they said, "Oh no, Stephen would laugh to have come and seen that, but he doesn't come to the shows because he feels that he'd be a distraction. It's not because he doesn't want to see them, but, it's Stephen Hawking coming into the theatre. Everyone's up out their seats. They're all trying to look. And, he said he just prefers to stay out of those situations. So it's done for respect, really, other than he just can't be bothered." So I said, "Oh, no, that's such a shame. I would have loved him to see it." So they said, "Well, look, are you doing anything else?" And I said, "Well, look, I've got another small show tomorrow. They said, we'll bring him. And I thought, yeah, right. They're not going to bring him. Anyway, about 5 minutes in he comes. In the chair, coming down towards the front row. Of course, everybody just went quiet.
Disrupted the whole show because he arrived 5 minutes late as well.
He did, to which I said, "Oh, Professor, you're late. Don't you know what time is?"
The meaning of time.
Which got a laugh, not from him. But he obviously enjoyed it because he then stayed for the entire performance. And then later on that day, I got an invite to go to meet him to have dinner. So it all came good in the end. So I met him for dinner. We talked, and then off the back of that, I got invited to a conference that he holds every year at different places around the world, which celebrates science and the arts And to this day, I attend every year and do a special performance. So,
that's lovely. That's a really nice story. Thanks for sharing. Out of interest,
that's all right.
Out of interest, how's the communication with Stephen Hawking? Like, obviously, technology's evolved a little bit now, but before, like, I can't remember how they depicted it in the film, but like, his ability to speak.
Yeah, he couldn't speak vocally. No, obviously the voice.
The voice was the robot, and how was that controlled?
He used to control it with his hand, with a cursor, right. But in the later years of his life, he lost the use of his hand. So he actually did everything with a muscle in his cheek.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was an enormous effort for him to talk, to communicate. So he never said much. And obviously, you had to wait for him to basically compose this sentence with what would have been then very sort of basic AI. I mean, now it would be probably a lot faster, but it was like predictive text because I could see it on the screen, like on your mobile phone. So he would move the cursor with his cheek, and then it would like second guess what he was trying to say. So he could either sort of accept that word, or he'd have to carry on spelling out the rest of it. So yeah, to make a sentence could take him it could take him between 5 and 10 minutes. Wow. So yeah.
And you know what? If there's one pet peeve of mine, it's when you're speaking to somebody who mumbles. It's
right.
Like, if you can't even speak properly.
Oh, what do you mean?
You're aware. Like, but here's Stephen Hawking, who's generating predictive text with a muscle in his mouth. And then,
exactly. He's going to all that effort when it was tiring. I mean, he was older then, and so you have to respect him for that. So patiently waited, and it was really nice because just before I went to leave, the nurse sort of grabbed me and she said, Stephen wants to say something. Do you mind waiting? I said, no, it's fine. So I waited, and eventually it was good night. And that was it. And I went. And as we walked out, she said, that doesn't really mean much to you, does it? The fact he said good night. And I said, well, I thought maybe he was going to say a bit more. But she said, no. She said, that's a really big honour. It's such an effort that he just normally doesn't even bother with that, with the most people that he meets. But she said he really liked you. And I kind of got him on the side quite early because when I walked into the restaurant, he was there at the table with all of his team, and there were about 10 people on this table. And as I walked towards the table, the first thing they said was, "Oh, Stephen, it's the comedian. Say something funny." And I'm just stood there.
No pressure.
No, exactly. They're all looking at me. It's Stephen Hawking staring at me, and I said, well, the first thing that came to my mind, because I knew a little bit about his background, I said, well, can I just say, Stephen, or Professor, I call him, can I just say, Professor, that meeting you on this cruise has been harder than meeting fucking God. And and they laughed, and so I think I kind of got on the good side of him. So, yeah.
Did he express any discontentment with the reception staff on board? Like, did he go up and take an hour to compose a formal complaint for something on board?
No. He was very well looked after.
I would like my gratuities refunded, please. Like,
no. He was he didn't even try and plot a different course by using the stars as navigational tools. No, he had a lovely time.
You had many guests with any other complaints over the years? Do you know what I mean?
No, he didn't. I've had a complaint directed at me. I mean, the nature of what I do, the comedy, and this isn't representative of the cruise industry as such. No. This is inherent with being a comedian. I mean, you are likely to say something that someone will find offence at. And of course, now in today's culture, people like to find offence in pretty much everything that you do. So it can be a minefield in comedy. I'm pretty good at mitigating most of it. I know how far I can push things. But the funniest complaint I had was somebody challenged me on board, and they said, we're absolutely furious about your show. I said, all right, okay, why is that? They said, well, we think it's disgusting that you've come over from Cuba, you've taken British people's jobs. I mean, there's plenty of British comedians that could do your job. And I said, well, I am British. No, you're not. We saw the show. And even though there was no hint of an accent in my voice, they still refused to accept that I was British.
So you dropped
there I
it.
was.
Yeah.
I dropped the accent. Yeah. So there I am having this complaint leveled at me because I was, a foreign act, which is not a reason to complain anyway.
No, I know.
But I said, I'm not foreign. I am British. I live in Kent. I'm English.
Sorry to say this, but I got the exact same story from the comedian and pianist Kev Orkian.
I know Kev.
Because he does his act is Armenian.
He is. The only thing with Kev is he is actually Armenian.
No, yeah, but he is English. I think he can speak Armenian.
He is
his parents are Armenian.
Yeah. So he's got a little bit more of a tie. But no, he is British. I believe he was born in Britain. He's lived in Britain all his life. So yeah, so me and Kev are sort of similar.
In the pod.
Except I generally don't have any, foreign heritage. I mean, I am, both my parents were English.
They could direct their upset elsewhere, be like, "How dare you depict the fact that you're, Latino origin when really you're not." Like,
well, then you get into the whole racism thing, yeah, because then, you're English, but now you're making fun of being South American. I mean, you just go round and round. I mean, it's just like, how far does a rabbit hole go, So you can't reason with those people.
They accused you of cultural appropriation?
Well, I've been accused of that, yeah, but again, it's
and what's your
nonsense,
response?
Really?
It's not cultural appropriation, it's cultural appreciation.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm not making, at no point in my show do I make fun of the fact that I'm Latino. There's nothing derogatory in my show about somebody if there was somebody in the audience, and I have had audience members that are from Cuba. Mm-hmm. And I've had someone come up to me, and I always remember this really big guy come up to me, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, es no cubano." So I knew he was saying, "You're not Cuban." Yeah. And I said,
I got
no,
that.
I'm not. Yeah. And he leaned in and he went, "Mexicano." So he was convinced I was Mexican. So I thought, I'll just leave it at that. I just nodded. Sí, senor.
What are the cultural self-deprecating? I've just gone blank. Is it deprecating or depreciating?
Self-deprecating is when you make fun of yourself. That's fine.
So what are the...
It's cultural appropriation. It's where you, like if you take a white rap artist, for instance, who then raps like he's a member of the black community with the body movements, the voice, then I think, and rightly so, black recording artists get, not all of them, but they could get annoyed saying, you're trying to appropriating our culture.
It's funny you say that because I don't know if you've ever watched Saturday Night Live.
I have watched Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Timothy Chalamet's on it this week. He's
right, yeah.
He's just done the film
Willy Wonka.
Not that one.
June 2.
No, not that one. He's done
that one.
The Bob Dylan.
Oh no, he's done Bob Dylan story.
Great Unknown.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So he did a bunch of performances on that, and then a couple sketches as well. And one of the sketches, he was a barista training at some Starbucks type of place.
Yeah.
And they were like, doing this whole bit about, sometimes we have fun and we write jokes and puns on the whiteboard so that the guests can come through and see the jokes. And, we like to have fun. And the joke that, everyone was making was always coffee-based puns. And then Timothy Chalamet would just get up and be like, he would launch into a stereotypically black comedian, and none of his jokes were about coffee at all. It was just about women with big booties. But it's Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, okay.
It's Timothy Chalamet, so that's like he's the furthest thing from that character or that archetype. So you're like, I see the irony.
Yeah, and I think it's fine to impersonate someone. I mean, look at Peter Sellers, for instance. I mean, Inspector Clouseau, one of the greatest comedy characters, of all time on screen. He's not French.
He also did The Party.
The Party where he pretended to be an Indian.
He's not Indian.
Exactly. And again, there's nothing derogatory or negative in his performance.
No.
He's just imitating the accent. And I think that's fine.
Yeah. So you just got to stay.
Unless you're doing it for fraudulent purposes, then fine.
Catch me if you can.
You should put that disclaimer on the podcast, your voice or appearance, in order to get around immigration rules.
But so you've made a point of not performing out some of the stereotypes, some of the more self-deprecating, depreciating. I can never remember which one it is. Which one is it? Deprecating or depreciating?
Self-appreciate.
No, the word deprecating. Deprecating or depreciating?
Defecating. If you need to go, just ring me back.
I'm having a really senior moment. You know what I'm trying to say.
I'm not really. No.
No. Well,
I don't think you know what you're trying to say.
No, I do. It's just the way the word's spelled. I don't know how you pronounce it. Deprecating, depreciating. Because the I is a deprecate. I'm going to cut all this out. It's just winding me up.
You?
Of course I am. This isn't comedy. This is just...
No, this is good stuff, mate. This is good stuff. This is the sort of stuff you should leave in. I think this is better than the Stephen Hawking story.
No, come on. Don't disgrace the professor like that. What was the other story? So let's round that story off. I was asking, so are there certain traits of Latino people that you actively avoid doing on stage so as not to cause offence?
No, I go through all the stereotypical Latino sayings, idiosyncrasies, body language. It's a spoof character, and I do it very well. And most people come away from the show thinking that I'm genuinely, Latino. They do. I've had people come up and talk to me in fluent Spanish. In fact, I had a show once on a ship where the cruise director only came backstage literally 2 minutes before the curtain went up. I hadn't met him up until that point. Came backstage, started talking to me in fluent Spanish. Hey, Manuel, blah, 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 blah. So I'm looking at him. I said, I'm British, mate. And he said, really? I said, yeah. He said, oh, it says on your details you're from Cuba. I said, yeah, I'm not really from Cuba. I'm from the UK. It's an act, a character. He said, oh, well, we've been advertising all week that we've got a comedian coming from Cuba, and the Latino passengers on board have gone absolutely berserk. They can't wait for you. He said, the whole first house, he said, they're all Spanish speaking. And I'm like, what? He said, do you speak Spanish? I said, no. He said, any Spanish? I said, not really. I mean, hola, yeah, un poco, gracias. He said, oh, okay, well, good luck. And he walked out. No, he walked out. He then introduced me in fluent Spanish just to add a bit of, insult. And I walked out. And in those days on my show, I walked out to the music, which was it was a Cuban track that I'd found that I always used to use. But what I wasn't prepared for, as I walked out to it, the whole audience started singing the words because they knew it. A UK audience wouldn't do that. It's just some Spanish song playing. But the whole audience was singing like this, and they were all looking at me like I was Jesus. Oh my God, he's gone from my country. We can't believe it. Oh, Manuel Martinez, we love you. And I go, oh my God, in a minute they're gonna get really confused. Which they did. And I got through the show only speaking English with a Spanish accent, and they appeared to understand me. They were very confused. I could see these odd looks. And everybody I got on stage to use for a trick or something would just speak to me in Spanish. And I just knew enough to know roughly what they were saying, but I just answered in English. And the whole show, that's how the whole show went. And at the end, they cheered, they clapped, they loved it. So, yeah. Bizarre.
Yeah. They never asked you to speak in Spanish, or you just kind of ignored them?
I think afterwards I was coming off stage and this woman come up and said, hey, why you not speak Spanish? Why you do I said, I don't like to, I like to keep it international, because in case there's someone in the audience who doesn't really understand, I don't want to alienate them,
Yeah. Those ships,
anyway,
the ships that you go on are predominantly English-speaking vessels with a small group of this or that.
Yeah. Predominantly, I would say it's mostly British-speaking, but every now and again. But, I get by. I get through it.
Here's the question. Why does a man born and raised in Canterbury decide to become a Latino parody comedian? What made you do that?
Well, must have been on drugs. It must have been the drugs. Yeah.
You were going through a phase, like the 90s?
I've been through loads of phases. To cut a very long, convoluted story short, basically, I trained as a mime artist. Oh. So early on in my career, I did a show where I never spoke. It was all mime, And
you were a Latino mime?
I wasn't Latino mime. No, it wouldn't have mattered what mime I was. I didn't say anything. It didn't matter. They probably thought I was French. I had a white face, the white gloves, the whole lot. Anyway, I did that for about 15 years. And then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I needed to talk. I needed to make the show longer. The only way to do that was to talk. I was very unhappy with my own voice because I'm not from a region of the UK where I've got like a regional accent, Hey, I don't sound like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here, listen to, and I don't sound Geordie. Why, Northern Ireland. I don't have a regional accent, so I'm quite boring. So I decided I'd put a foreign accent on because I could do that easily. And I was a big fan of Andy Kaufman. You probably don't remember Andy Kaufman.
I know, of course I do.
Andy Kaufman? Okay.
Kaufman. The man on the moon.
Kaufman, I say Kaufman. Let's call the whole thing off. Man on the Moon. Jim Carrey played him in the biopic. Yeah. So Andy did a character in Taxi, which was a 70s sitcom.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Lakgar Gravis. Yeah. So I was a big fan of that. And I also liked the experimental comedy of it. So I started putting on a foreign accent. At the time, it was nondescript, a bit like Andy's. Wasn't from anywhere in particular. And then over time, I refined that, made it Latino, decided that I would come from Cuba, because I quite like Cuba, and they got the cigars and the Hawaiian shirts, the cool cars. And then I built up this backstory, and that was it.
You didn't like them for their fascist dictatorships then?
I did use some of their fascist dictatorship iconography in the show. Obviously, Che Guevara, one of my early promo pics was me as Che Guevara with the beret and the star.
You've got to lean into that a little bit, because that's what, again, the rest of the world kind of stereotypes Cuba for that, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah, they do, and I did tap into that. Now I don't. Now my publicity is more. I have like a very sort of 1960s, 70s vintage poster of myself with a big cigar, always a big cigar.
Always.
So. And I use a cigar on my show. So. Okay, right. So Sam, as you can see, I'm in a theatre right now. So I thought what would be fun, you said you never had a magician on before, so it would be a real missed opportunity if we didn't do some magic. So I thought I'd like to show you something.
Wonderful.
Are you familiar with all the plays, soliloquies, poems? Soliloquies. Yeah. Oh, you are familiar. Well, you can say it.
Test me.
Of William Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. You're a well-read man.
I was in the top set for English.
Oh, were you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whilst I was doing The Merchant of Venice, the bottom set were doing Shrek.
Nice. Oh, well, it's good that you're familiar. Most people aren't, and even if they are, they would struggle to name 3 or 4 off the top of their head.
Okay.
But anyway, it doesn't matter, because with the power of the internet, which you have on your phone, I'm guessing, if you'd like to go to a website that is that lists all of the plays that Shakespeare ever wrote, if you can do that on your phone, just find that.
Got it.
Okay, I don't want to see. Okay. And if you scroll up and, down, you'll see there's all, you don't have to do like a fast scroll, like a detailed scroll. And you'll see all the different, there's loads, all of Shakespeare's plays, basically. What I want you to do is I want you to feel free to scroll up, down, wherever you want to go, and then settle on one of those plays.
See, I've already mentioned one, so I'm not going to use that one. Let's go with another one that a lot of people would know. Okay, no, one of the lesser knowns. Let's go with this one. Yeah, I've selected one.
You've got one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I can't see your phone. Yeah, you're not showing me the phone. Okay. Because what I'm going to attempt to do now is to read your mind to try and get the play that you've chosen at random.
Okay.
And just in case anyone's thinking that I can see anything, just there's no reflections behind you. I can't see your screen.
No, this is a green screen. There's nothing bouncing back. Yeah.
Okay. Is this a play you're familiar with?
Yes.
It is. Okay. You've read it.
I've read it and I've seen it.
You've seen it. Okay. Okay. All right, don't tell me anymore. Don't tell me anymore. No, because people might think that now I know that there was a film made about this, which would narrow down the choices. But so don't tell me anything more. So, but you've read it. Okay, we know that there's been a movie about it, which does narrow it down a little bit, maybe. But there's been a lot of movies made over time. This is probably one of his earlier works, I would say. Could you? I just think about the sensibility of the play. If you're familiar with it, what it's about. I'm getting you're a comedy man. You like comedy. I would say this was probably a comedy, one of his comedies. You said. Think about the movie. Actually, the movie might help. You can think about the movie, who was in it.
I'm to say nothing, right? I'm to say nothing.
No, don't say nothing. Just think. You just think it. Yeah. I mean, you could tell me. It would make it a lot easier, but it's not as impressive. I'm just going to cut straight to it because could you just think about the first word of the play, just the first word, and just keep saying it over and over again in your mind. Much ado about nothing. Is that the play you're thinking of?
How the fuck did you do that? This list is huge, and I scrolled for some time before I got there. Yes, that is the play, and I'm not exactly halfway through. I'm about a third of the way through.
Yeah, I can't remember how many there are off the top of my head. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Very impressive.
That's spooky.
That's spooky, but yeah, you can lose the theatre crowd now.
Okay, we'll get rid of the theatre. They're not real, by the way.
They didn't even look like they were very impressed.
No, that's typical of my audience.
That was great. I am. That was very Darren Brown of you. That kind of.
That is some Darren Brown stuff there. Yeah.
Power of suggestion, maybe, or
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we sort of use a wide range of techniques. Persuasion, misdirection.
I don't like believing that I'm easily led. Very unsettling.
Neurodivergent.
I'm my own man, goddammit.
You are your own man, but just be careful. Right, I want you to think about your PIN number now. I'm just gonna... Right, yep, got it.
Well, now you've had your moment in the sun, and you've proved you've got the stripes on your shoulder
and the spurs.
Is there anything that you would like to promote?
I guess I suppose I'm my own best advert. If anybody's interested in finding out more about me or what I do, then yes, you can take yourself to the Ministry of Magic website. That's what we're called. ministryofmagic.agency. That is our domain. You can find not only more details about myself and Manuel Martinez, but also all the magicians that we represent to not just the cruising industry, but also to corporate events. So, yeah, if you want to add a bit of magic to your next event, then, yeah, reach out and I will help.
Wonderful stuff. That sounds wonderful. Well, Loki, we have to wrap things up. So thank you very much for being a guest on Deck Tales. I don't remember how I tracked you down, but God damn it, I'm glad I did.
Yep, thanks. Great to chat, Sam, and good luck with the podcast.
Thank you very much, my friend. Hope all goes well on the next ship that you jump on later today or tomorrow or whenever it is. Enjoy the Caribbean until then.
I will.
Thanks, sir.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing. Take care.
Yeah, see you later.
Have a great day.
Sam. Glad we could make it happen. Cheers. Bye.
Much. Cheers, mate.
No worries.
So there you have it. That wraps it up for this episode of Deck Tales. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've been entertained by the tales of laughter, camaraderie and the occasional stormy sea, then don't forget to subscribe, rate and leave a review. Your feedback helps us to navigate the podcasting waters and continue bringing you these fascinating stories. Before I sign off, if you'd like to share your own stories for future episodes, then I'd love to hear from you. Simply get in touch over the socials, because after all, the best stories often come from our listeners. As we navigate through the waters of life, remember to enjoy the journey as much as the destination, as well as those you choose to share the adventure with. I've been your captain, Sammy Catlin. Until next time, fair winds, smooth sailing, and may your adventures be as unforgettable as those shared here on Deck Tales. Bon voyage.